Hi, I'm Rora.
Hi, I'm Jane,
We are Birds of Clay.
and this is Clay Connections, a short podcast series where we delve into the intersection of well-being, community, and of course, clay. In these conversations, we discuss lots of topics around mental health, and this is just a friendly reminder to reach out for support if you need.
And that's okay if you do need, because as great and amazing as clay is, sometimes it can't do everything.
Please check the show notes for links to supports that are out there. We would like to pay our respects to the traditional custodians on the lands on which this podcast is recorded. We acknowledge the rich history of art, craft, and storytelling that has been occurring for millennia, and acknowledge elders past, present, and country as provider, protector, and guide. Working with clay is intrinsically linked to country, and we would not be here without the care and connection that our First Nations peoples have shown for thousands of years on this continent we call Australia. Hi, Rora.
Hey, Jane.
Hi, Sam.
Hello, how's it going?
It's wonderful. It's so
Yeah,
exciting to have you here today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
we feel very privileged to be in the company of Samuel Leighton-Dore.
Welcome, Sam.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's our
Thanks for having
pleasure.
us. We're on your stomping ground right now.
Pleasure. Welcome to Australia's emerging cultural capital, the Gold Coast.
We're being hosted by Hota today. Thank you, Hota. Shout out. Amazing place.
Yes, we love it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, would you like to kick us off by just doing a quick introduction to who you are?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Sam. I am a kind of interdisciplinary visual artist and screenwriter, working, I guess, a lot with ceramics and painting and animation, but a lot of my visual arts practice is ceramics based.
And that's why we're talking to you today.
Yes.
So we always like to ask people about their clay origin story, or like, how did you come to clay?
I came to clay, I think, quite not accidentally, but on a whim. I think, like I do with much of the creative pursuits in my life. I came back from a trip to Europe, and I had been doing a lot of illustration work and a lot of writing, but I guess felt like I was in a bit of a funk and needed something to do with my hands and needed something that I could hold. I've always loved objects and things that, can be gifted and put on display. And I was really curious to see whether my illustration style could translate into sculpture, and ceramics felt like one of the more accessible kind of sculpture mediums. And I had just moved to the Gold Coast. So this was about 8-9 years ago. And just down the street was Picasso's Ceramics, which is a store, and, they have kilns there. And I kind of just walked in and said, how do I start doing this? And they were very helpful and accommodating and introduced me to good hand building clays and, showed me the ropes, so to speak. And yeah, I kind of started from there. I don't want to say self-taught, because I obviously did a lot of Googling and spoke to a lot of people, but very much intuitive in how I started making things, and not too hung up on the technicalities of what I was doing to start with, which led to a lot of trial and error. But I think within a year I just hired out a space and put on my first exhibition and kind of just started doing it until people knew me for it.
That's amazing. A year into working with clay, and then into, I'm going to put this on show. That's so
a bit cocky in hindsight.
No, I love
but
it.
I guess I just was having fun, and I love exhibition making. I find a lot of joy in building a world and creating an experience for people. So as soon as I kind of found my footing with it, it was exciting to kind of combine ceramics with illustration and painting, and there was LED neon in my first show as well, and it kind of I was really passionate about kind of bringing that all together in a way that wasn't dependent on a gallery space inviting me. I was able to just hire somewhere and do it, which I think I broke even at the end of it.
That's great. That's all you can ask for.
Exactly. So a raging success.
Yeah. How did it feel like getting started with clay? Like, how did working with that material feel for you?
Frustrating. Frustrating and fun, probably equally, I would say. I have autism and OCD, so I'm very sensitive to texture and to mess and to my environment, and I make everything in my little apartment, so it's a very lived-in space and hard to kind of create a separation between where I relax and where I make things with clay. So getting a hang of my workflow took a while, and overcoming the setbacks of things not turning out and things breaking, and kind of acquainting myself with that process of disappointment took a while, but it felt good. I think ceramics came into my life at a time when I was a bit depressed, and I think the notion of having something to look forward to with ceramics was really important to me, and one of the more appealing aspects, the fact that there was a mystery to it, there was a reveal to it, there was always a kiln to unload, was something that kept me excited for the next day in a way that I hadn't been for a long time. The gratification wasn't instant, but it wasn't super delayed either, and having gratification 2 days away was something I needed to have in my kind of day-to-day life, having that satisfaction and joy, I guess, at seeing something turn out.
I can really relate to that. I heard someone say that like doing ceramics is kind of like opening Christmas presents every day, or like every time you open the kiln, it gives you this...
It gives you a little hint of that kind of childlike excitement that becomes hard to experience as you get older. Not that I'm old, but
and sometimes you open the kiln and you got those bad socks that you didn't want for Christmas.
For sure.
But sometimes you get the really exciting.
The big disappointments are definitely testing, but as you go along, they become fewer. And taking something out and seeing it realized is a nice feeling.
Kind of makes you feel like you're capable again, like when you're in a period of depression and then you've made this thing and it's come to fruition, like, oh, I can do something.
And it's so shiny and you can run your hand over it, and it's fragile and feels special just by virtue of being so delicate. I think it's it's a nice way to both feel in control and surrender control completely. But to feel capable of making something beautiful is, I guess, a nice anchor.
For sure, totally.
Yeah.
Following on from that, can you tell us a bit about the work you make and what informs it? Like, what are you interested in? What do you express through your work?
I guess my work seems simple and always has. I'm not huge on big, complex technical forms. I like to make deceptively simple work that kind of conveys a sense of play, color, joy with like an emotional undertone. So I guess a motif in my work is a crying bald man, which represents me. And that's kind of been present throughout my work since the beginning, in different forms and different kind of interactions. But I also, one of my big works, Cloud Drive, was, just 400 ceramic clouds mounted to a blue wall that, came to life through AR technology. So I like to hide surprises in simple forms, I would say. And I think there's something special about being able to communicate complex feelings and ideas in simple, accessible, colorful ways. And that's kind of, I think, at the center of what I make and always has been, which it's the challenge that I enjoy, is kind of distilling complex feelings down and representing them visually.
So you'd say that vulnerability takes a really large role in your practice?
Yeah, vulnerability, I guess, was integral to the start of my ceramics career. It was, I used clay as a way of expressing my journey with mental health, and those early works were very much excavations of myself at a challenging time in my life. And I look back and I almost can't believe how vulnerable I was with some of that, to be honest, because it's scary to be that vulnerable. But yeah, I just kind of started therapy at the time, and I guess making little sculptures about how I felt became my way of understanding myself and the things I was discussing with my therapist. So it was kind of like self-appointed homework in a way that I then took photos of and posted on the internet, which of course made them slightly less special spiritually. But I guess connected me to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, I was just seeing that. It's like a double-edged sword. I'm never sure if that's the right metaphor, but when we make these personal works, we want to share them with people. We want to have those conversations. Kind of why you make an object is to connect things. And so to put them on the internet, it kind of feels right, but then it's also the internet, which can be a really ugly place.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you make work that is personal and vulnerable, it, I guess, feels like an extension of who you are and an expression of yourself. So to put that on social media is to invite judgment and criticism, and to put it in the art world especially is to invite judgment and criticism, either to your face or, the art world is a critical place, and it's a place where fundamentally work is judged and accepted or not accepted, and that can be a difficult thing to navigate with work that feels like you. And it's definitely been a process that I haven't finished yet, I don't think, of kind of working out where I end and my work begins and creating that distance in a healthy way. Because, I'm a sensitive person, and I think by nature want to be liked. But I also understand that my work can't be liked by everyone, and that has to be okay.
Yeah, for sure.
You're only human.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we all want to be liked. I think that's, but I mean, something you were saying is like the criticism's there, but I know for me, sometimes the silence is the hardest. Like when you put vulnerable work into the world and you hear nothing, because then your own head creates the criticism, which is the harshest criticism out there.
Yeah, you will always, I think, put more weight on the person who doesn't respond to your work than 20 people who do respond to your work, it's an easy trap to walk into.
Gosh, that's so true. That's so true. I first became familiar with your work on Instagram, and you were making a lot around toxic masculinity, which I think at the time was a relatively new term. Can you talk about that earlier work and how you as a queer person, how you offer a unique perspective on masculinity?
Yeah, I think masculinity felt like a really natural subject for me to explore because it's something I've kind of dealt with in one way or another since I was young. I think the challenges of my childhood were very much informed by expectations and ideas around the way a boy should act and behave and seem. I think there was always a inner conflict and tension between the ways I wanted to express myself and wanting to fit in, and those two things not being aligned. And I think that created, some really deep-rooted problems psychologically that I continue to unravel today. When you deny the person you are to please others and to be accepted by others, that becomes a pattern that's really hard to break. And I think making art is someone who is then open as opposed to feeling defensive. So I do like to have a playful or humorous first impression with most of my work, but then kind of has a trail of emotional resonance or gentle provocation. But yeah, that's just the way I do it. There's definitely space for all kinds of approaches and conversations, but I think my strength is definitely a gentle way into those tricky subjects. Yeah. It's
also a way that, your grandparents understand. I like using these.
Yeah, not my grandparents in particular, but in general.
Yeah. They're like square peg in the round hole kind of.
Exactly.
It's this thing that's not just the art world that people can see it and get what you're trying to say straight away. And they might be like,
my work is very much feeling driven as opposed to intellectual. I think, I can intellectualize it if I need to, and I will, but I think more important to me is that it makes people feel things and they can then, have those conversations and navigate those thoughts themselves. But I think heart first for me.
Doesn't mean it's not deep. It's very deep work.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, I can write essays all day about my work if I need to, but I'd rather just make someone laugh and then.
And I think in some ways, I don't want to say this work's better than that work, but I've been doing some creative writing, and there's an author he's a very well-known journalist, and he said that as he's gone in his career, his sentences have got simpler and clearer.
Yes.
And so I feel like that's a bit like your work is really clear.
Yeah.
And therefore I feel like the message is really strong and really deep.
Yeah. So I think my dad always told me that if a sentence could exist without a certain word, then it should. So there's no point putting words in that aren't needed. I think that's the way I approach my art too. If you have to think too hard about what it means, then there's a barrier there between the artwork and the audience. Whereas if it quite openly invites interpretation, I think you're going to reach more people. Which isn't the goal for everyone, of course, but I think accessibility for me and my work is important.
Yeah, and I think that's coming back to vulnerability. Why your work's so vulnerable, because you're not hiding behind anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except a screen.
Oh, we all do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
It takes a lot of courage. Go down that road and, you know, make work about the topics that you do. So was there anyone when you started making confronting work, I guess, was there any kind of positive role models that you looked to and thought that, like, yeah, that person, I'm gonna be brave like that person?
I think if I try to list public figures, I will miss someone and feel bad, because there are a lot of kind of artists who do make work that inspires me. But I think more personally, my dad's always been a really open kind of presence and male figure in my life. And, you know, growing up, I saw my dad cry, and he's always been creative, and, you know, he's a great drawer and a really deep philosophical thinker, and always placed value on art and on creative work. So I think without him, I wouldn't be doing what I do, because I kind of, from an early age, understood the value of the value and the challenges around, you know, our emotional health, and the value in kind of having conversations around those difficult things. Like, I knew what depression was before I knew what an economy was.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I'm still working out economics.
So you've been making work about your emotions for quite a while now. We'd love to know how your work has evolved over time and how you have changed your approach to your work to maybe adjust to your own boundaries and, I don't know. Yeah.
And don't feel like you can't talk about things that aren't ceramic here.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know we're a bit clay obsessed, but, you know, your whole practice.
Yeah. You've got a ceramic gun to the back of my head. What are you talking about? I think early on in my career, I, you know, got quite caught up in social media and in sharing, and became a bit addicted to the connection of making work that resonated with other people, and a bit addicted to expressing myself. And, you know, the output was not sustainable for me, and I didn't, I think, realize the toll of being vulnerable publicly over and over again. I'm not sure it was as helpful as I thought it was. And there was something I realized after a while, that when you make your brand depression, you're kind of screwed. Because you can't just suddenly be happy and make work about being happy, because you've built an audience around mental illness. I think I realized that I identified with my mental health challenges more than I wanted to, and my work identified with my mental health challenges more than I wanted it to. So I became more interested in creating a bit of distance, still having, you know, emotional intelligence and themes of mental health and vulnerability present in my work, but making them less clearly extensions of who I am as a person, and also making more space for kind of irreverence and unserious work. Like a piece I made recently is just a bunch of nude sunbathers on nostalgic 90s beach towels, and that doesn't speak directly to, you know, my anxiety or my depression or my OCD or my autism. It just captures a feeling, and that feeling for me is, you know, the brief joy of lying in the sun in North Queensland at my husband's small hometown. And, you know, that feeling is worth capturing for me, but it's not one that I probably would have captured 3 years ago. So yeah, I think I've just taken the pressure off myself to heal publicly, and I've taken the pressure off myself to make work that resonates with other people. I think trying to predict what people will respond to was a risky thing, because it meant that I was making work for other people as opposed to for myself. And people engaged with my work around mental health, so it made me want to make more work about mental health. But then suddenly that was all I was doing. So I think, yeah, taking a step back and trying to place more importance on the work as opposed to the reception to the work was important for me, and kind of broadened my horizons.
But yeah, I think, like, even though your work has changed, it still has a beautiful connecting feeling.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't, looking at it all, it hasn't felt like, oh, Sam's work's so different now.
No, I'm just making less work, and I hope better work, and work that is more aligned with where I want to go as opposed to where I've been. I think a lot of my work was reflective, which kind of tied me to my reality as opposed to imagination for the future and ideas for the future, and just expressions of fun and silliness, which I actually need more of in my life. And funnily enough, taking a break from making mental work that's around mental health has helped my mental health. So there you go, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun and silly, can you tell us about the Smile Tile project?
Yeah.
Your lovely, happy, silly tiles?
My lovely, happy, silly tiles. I started making Smile Tiles, you know, probably my first year of working with clay. It felt like an easy way for me to start making things because the forms were so simple. Although I would say deceptively simple.
Yeah, tiles are not easy.
They're not easy. A lot can go wrong. There's nowhere to hide, especially engraving kind of phrases into them and lettering. But I mean, I really just realized that the word tile kind of rhymed with smile and thought that's a cool idea.
So it started with the pun.
I'm a title first person.
Yeah.
I will come up with an exhibition title first,
cool.
And then work back often. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just make a body of work where I was engraving phrases and affirmations and silly little jokes into tiles that you could hang on your wall. I guess it was my way of bringing a bit of humor and vulnerability to your typical live, laugh, love Airbnb style art.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved text-based art, and this felt like a nice way for me to pursue that. And yeah, I've kind of been doing them ever since. I have a book of them. It's called Wow, It's All a Lot, where there's 32 ceramic tiles with different phrases with accompanying essays about the kind of story behind each tile. But yeah, I think they're very unpretentious and colourful and fun, and I think that resonates with people. And yeah, I have a lot of fun with them. They do take a lot of time. Firing them in my little microwave-sized hobby kiln on my balcony. They're fun. I don't really plan them before I make them. I don't space out the lettering. I kind of just wing it, and the words break halfway through and get smaller towards the bottom, and that's kind of part of the charm for me, is not overthinking it. And I started my own Instagram account for them, the Smile Tiles. People love them, which has been really nice. It's a nice, easy way for me to exercise my ceramic muscle and experiment with colour and airbrushing. And
I remember when I saw your first stack of men on top of each other and you'd airbrushed them.
Oh,
amazing.
My little, yes.
Your little people.
My sunbathing nude man pile sunset.
Yeah.
So good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I haven't been able to part with that one. That's in my
one for you.
Room. Yeah.
I think you have to keep some of your own work.
One for me, one for the economy. One for me, one for the economy.
Share the love around.
Yeah.
I think your tiles are really relatable. Like last
Thank
week,
you.
Roar and I have been having some really big weeks, and I've just got your book.
Oh, thank you.
And I said, Roar, wow, it's all a lot, but at least we have each other one. And we were like, yeah, it's true. It is.
Yeah, I think it's capturing a feeling and a mood and a tone simply with words is something I get a lot of joy out of. And being able to kind of marry that with ceramics is really special and feels very me. So, no, I'm very grateful that I've been able to develop that body of work and that it still helps put food on my table today.
Yes, let us know when there's some more for sale. Cause,
there will be soon. Christmas is always my big push with them. And one day I'd love to do a public wall of them. But,
oh my goodness.
But it would just, the idea of how much work it would take is so overwhelming. I can't. Yeah. Anyway, one day.
You could do a Jeff Koons and just get a warehouse of people to do it for you.
I would be very open to that.
We'd do some.
Yeah, we should be.
Yeah, but I think that idea is really interesting because it comes back to the work you were talking about before with Cloud Drive and that interaction, I guess, a bit more socially engaged with people and creating work collaboratively. Could you tell us a bit more about Cloud Drive and how it came about and the concept? Because I came across and I just loved it. I thought it was such a great idea.
Thank you. Cloud Drive was my first large-scale work. I made it for the opening exhibition at the new Hodder Gallery on the Gold Coast as part of their first triennial show. And I kind of sketched it out and put a proposal together and was very lucky to have it selected. But I knew I wanted to make an interactive ceramic work that utilized social media, AR technology, and animation.
Wow, that's wild.
Would you be able just to tell us what AR technology is?
So augmented reality is what it means. So basically I made a whole bunch of ceramic clouds, which are then wall mounted to a specially built wall that you could kind of crawl inside of. And we developed a website and an app. And on the website, people were invited to submit thoughts and feelings or worries or fears. And when you download the Cloud Drive app and look through the app at the ceramic clouds, animated messages from the public drop down as animated videos. So they were standing in the gallery and watching people of all ages kind of hold their phone up to the clouds and spend time going from one to the next, reading the messages was really special. And also meant that the work was never the same. It was every time you visited it, different messages from the public would appear, which was important to me, so it could kind of be a time capsule. Throughout COVID, the the messages all reflected the challenges of that, and the bushfires, and it's kind of just, it holds up a mirror to the community's mood, I guess, at any given time, and was kind of a statement about the kind of work I'm interested in making. I think, given the opportunity and the budget to make something large, it felt like a very me work, and bringing brand new technology together with one of the oldest kind of artistic mediums in the history of the world was very interesting and exciting for me, and something I'm keen to do more of in the future.
That's great. How did it feel to work like collaboratively, I guess? Like,
I mean, scary. Yeah. Fun. I love collaborating. I love giving someone money and letting them do what they love to do, and then and then kind of directing how it all comes together. So we kind of worked with an animator, and we worked with an app developer in Brisbane, and it was a fun team, and it was a big kind of learning curve. I'd never made anything at that scale before. The gallery staff were incredibly helpful. It was very involved, and it took about a year to make. So it was very much the biggest thing I'd ever done creatively, but also, showed me what I can do, and I do find a lot of joy in collaboration. So that was very special. Yeah,
and you were collaborating with the public too.
And the public, of course. Yeah, they were the ones who didn't get paid.
No, but
they did.
They got paid in other ways.
They got paid in other ways, culturally. It was very special having, the messages were anonymous, which I thought was important, and having, hundreds of people actually log on and share feelings was very special, I think. I was scared that no one would, and that there would be no messages to put in the work. So I was very relieved when they came in, and 95% of them were really earnest, and that was really rewarding. Yeah,
that is so cool. Yeah, I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's in the Gold Coast City Collection now, so Hodder will hopefully put it up again in the future.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's been up twice now in 4 years, so I'm hoping it won't be too long before it's up again.
Yeah, it sounds like a work that is always growing, which is quite amazing for an artwork to be always contemporary, like always reflecting back.
I hope so. I mean, unless the internet goes down.
Yeah. But
then it's literally just ceramic clouds. But we'll have bigger problems if the internet has gone down.
Yeah.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
Speaking of community, have you found a ceramic community, or like through clay, have you met a bunch of people that kind of you have around all the time, you can lean on, ask questions?
Yeah, it's definitely been a slow process for me. I'm not an overly social person, so I think going out and building community in a traditional way is challenging for me, because I get overstimulated, and I'm really at my happiest when I'm at home by myself. But community online has definitely been a really special thing, and I met some of my best friends through ceramics. My friend Michelle, especially, who I think you two know, Michelle Laplastria. We kind of discovered ceramics around the same time, and that brought us together. And just going to exhibitions and meeting other ceramic artists, and meeting all the people at Picasso's back when I was first starting out, the kiln technicians there, and how friendly they were. Yeah, it's a beautiful community, and I've definitely felt very nurtured by it. I would say very local capacity, which has been especially rewarding, given on the Gold Coast, the art scene is still growing, and it's been really special to be a part of that, and to meet lots of people just getting started in ceramics too has been, very nice. Most of my friends are involved in ceramics one way or another.
I love that.
Yeah.
It does seem to take over your life a bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And, I think by nature of, I say I'm happiest at home by myself, which is true, but I also, the feeling of being connected to other people with shared experiences is very important. So having that community at my fingertips has been, vital, I would say, and probably quite unique to the ceramics community especially. I don't think there are many art forms that require such communal troubleshooting and exchanging of knowledge as ceramics. So, yeah.
It's also, I think, for me, I'm a little bit socially awkward, and it's given me a community that I know what to talk about with. Like, it's like a topic we're all kind of interested in. It's like you don't have to really overthink what you've got to talk about, because you're like, oh, did you try this clay? How does she kiln? Like, it's this endless topics that you can connect with people over, which has been really great.
Exactly right. It's friendly people who love the same things you do, which is the socially awkward person's dream, I guess.
I do also think as an adult it's harder to like find your people and make friends. So being in that community, it's like, oh, everyone here is my friend.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's like other people have kids.
Do they?
I had like ceramics.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, our like play group is where I've met my friends, and I'm like, no, clay.
Our clay group.
I turned 26 and I was like, something's missing. I need clay. My mum's like, no. That's not it.
That's great. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm really interested in self-care.
Yeah.
Because that's something I struggle with myself, is the boundaries, self-care. Like, how do we, when we're not working in an area where you go to work, you come home, it's like, how do you create boundaries? How do you look after yourself when really you could push and work 17-hour days and never sleep?
I'm not sure I understand your question. What is a boundary?
It's a
I've heard of them.
Process.
I've heard of them vaguely, peripherally. It's tough. I mean, I still don't have a studio space. I think some people would say that I'm no longer emerging, that I'm maybe mid-career now, but I still can't afford a studio space. So I'm working from, a tiny room in my unit, and that does make it really hard to create those boundaries, because you end up finishing a batch of tiles while you're watching TV at 7:30, and suddenly you are working until you go to sleep, and opening the kiln at 6 a.m. and it's tricky. It's something I'm still working out, but I am starting to kind of make sure that the work doesn't leave this one room, and trying to have I think routine has become a really big thing for me. I exercise at a certain time every afternoon, and for me that means I'm not working anymore after that. That's kind of the end of my day. And so I think having a really strict routine has kind of been a saving grace for me, and I struggle without routine. I'm a bad traveler for that reason. I really thrive with routine. So getting up at the same time every day, and I'll normally spend until midday writing and doing my other work, and then 12 till 4 working on ceramic things, and then I'll go and exercise or go outside, go for a walk, and then when I get home it's hopefully end of work day. But that all goes out the window if I've got a big commission or an exhibition. Then it's really just all boundaries are gone. Let's let's ruin ourselves, crawl to the finish line, trays of ceramics everywhere, cats crawling over clay.
Oh my gosh.
Kitchen benches full, just a true nightmare. But
feels familiar.
But how rewarding.
So rewarding.
Little eye twitch there.
Little eye twitch. Listeners, my nose just started bleeding.
It's the kind of cycle though, isn't it? And so after like an exhibition, do you have a holiday?
No, I would say I crash and have a little mental health wobbly normally. I will crash out and then slowly stabilize. I haven't had a real holiday in a while, but yeah, I definitely do try to, I think, take time to celebrate and punctuate achievements, because it's very easy with ceramics to look straight to the next thing, and it's kind of, you're always looking forward, and I'm trying to make more of a habit of reflecting on things after I finish them and letting myself feel proud of them, which doesn't come easily. And yeah, I mean, ceramics is tough. I mean, it's, as you said, a double-edged sword, but then the joy and excitement of waiting for a kiln to open also, translates into clay works on its own schedule, and that schedule doesn't give a shit about your boundaries. Like, if something needs to be glazed now, it needs to be glazed now. If something is drying, it needs to be moved, it needs to be moved. Like, it is kind of trickier than some other mediums, I think, in restricting it to a schedule. But
clay transcends boundaries.
it does, sadly, but I try.
Yeah.
Thanks for your honesty. I feel like people are like, oh yes, my self-care is this and this, but I think there's no end point with this stuff.
No.
We're all just working it out as we go, and I think it's hard because it's our passion too, so it's hard to put boundaries around something you love, even when it starts getting a bit toxic. It's hard to be like, well, what else do I have, or what else fills me up? And I think they're the really hard questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think most artists probably have a slightly toxic relationship with their work, whether we want to admit it or not. It's a hard thing to strike a perfect balance with, and it's a hard thing to step away from. So yeah. I'm not sure any of us work a neat 9 to 5.
No, but at least I think something from going from working in an institutional setting to having is that I feel like it's me. It's not I'm not working for the man or a boss. Like, it's me. And if I fall over, I fall over.
Yeah,
like,
it makes it much harder to quit.
Yeah. You can't quit yourself.
Yeah. And then you can put it in the post and it can break before it arrives,
Has that ever happened?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You would post a lot of stuff.
There's potential for failure around every corner with ceramics.
I know, you're like, that tile was meant to be cracked.
Yeah. Australia Post. I love you.
Can you tell us a bit about what you're working on right now? What's next for you?
So I had a solo exhibition earlier this year at Tweed Regional Gallery, which was a lot of work. I had a ceramic screenplay that was wall mountable, and I've been making ceramic lettering all year, and I really loved that and making that show. I've got a couple more solo exhibition ideas ticking away in the background, but I'm not sure where or when they will come to fruition. I've got a work coming up in the North Queensland Ceramic Awards, as both of you do too, fellow finalists. But yeah, at the moment, to be honest, my focus is on my screenwriting and my animation work. My husband and I are working to develop a couple of animated shows that are taking a lot of time and love at the moment. But yeah, ceramics is never far from my mind. So there's definitely another exhibition I'm quite keen to make. It's just about finding the resources and the space to do that. But yeah, I reckon sometime next year there'll be another show.
Oh,
yeah.
We'll have to come to the openings.
Please, I'll hopefully be there.
Yeah. Sam, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to say thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
And it's always so nice to connect with other ceramic artists, and always appreciate being approached as well, because I am, as I probably have made clear, quite socially anxious as a person. So it's very special to connect, and if any of your listeners want to find me, I'm sure there'll be a way for you to do that. And thanks in advance.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll put all your details in the show notes so people can reach out there.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yay.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed. You can find us on Instagram at birdsofclay_podcast. Please feel free to send us any questions or comments. And if you could leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, that would be amazing. We'll see you next time.